I could imagine you'd have a situation with people in different silos across the business. So was that a challenge for you? Did you recognise that was a challenge for you?
Most definitely. It still continues to be a challenge and is part of our whole approach to digital workplace transformation, particularly around acquisitions. So the level of different acquisitions and growth that we've had has led to legacy systems, technologies, platforms and tools, which obviously means you've got fragmentation, you've got a bit of confusion, there's a lot of clutter happening. So what we've done is kind of design this roadmap for our digital workplace transformation, and we've plotted it out and said, okay, where do we want to start? How do we want to prioritise this? Because we know employees are calling out for this, core platforms and central places that they can go and collaborate and communicate.
Because I'm fascinated in this, because if I talk to a lot of organisations and they talk about transformation, they would look at processes, they would look at systems, but you actually saw enterprise social media as a way of bringing people together as almost a foundation stone on which to build the transformation. That's an interesting thought. Was that a hard sell from an HR sort of point of view to the techies in the business, or were the techies recognising that was something that they needed to think about?
Yes, I think that was probably clearly the biggest gap for us, and the longer that it took for us to kind of solve that problem, the more fragmented and siloed the business was becoming. So we kind of had to solve it quickly, and we also had the strong endorsement from our CEO and from our Chief Technology Officer. So their backing was crucial to the success of this project, and they understood that if our vision from a people and culture and employee communications perspective was to make NIB feel like a community, then this is where we had to start and actually get people connecting and having conversations.
Yeah, okay. And what was interesting is when people talk about change management, usually the usual approach is to do it in the sort of beachhead part of the organisation, test the idea, get experience, and then gradually roll it out across the organisation. You went big bang. So was that, how challenging was it doing it that way? And do you think would you advise others to take that approach?
So look, I think I wouldn't say that it was necessarily more challenging than it would have been had we taken a more staggered or phased approach to the rollout. I definitely would advise it if the core driver is the same as ours, which was having all employees across the world on one platform and knowing that that's the place to go where you can converse with your colleagues, where you can collaborate. I think if we had have taken a slower, phased approach, it kind of would have gone against what we were trying to achieve. So from day one, we wanted employees to know that this is the place to go. Everybody is on there, and we're ready to go. You can start using it. You can jump in, and it's that simple. So it was a challenge, and I wouldn't say we did no testing. So we had. We rolled out within a 4-week period, but we did have workplace champions or change champions throughout that. So we had about 80 employees across various different departments and geographies across the world. And we invited them to join the platform in the 4 weeks in the lead up to launch, get them in there, have a play around, create content, and really be ambassadors for the platform for when we did launch. We also invited our executives and our business unit heads to be a part of that as well. So get them in there, piloting it, knowing how important executive engagement is in the platform, right from the development of the business case. So we knew when we developed this case what the business priorities were for each of our executives, and we kind of developed it under that lens. So for our CEO, mobile first was number one for him. He wanted an employee app to be able to really quickly provide updates and get updates no matter where you are. If you're traveling, we have a lot of employees in transit. So for him, that was a priority. For our Chief Technology Officer, it was cloud first. It was, best of breed technology and making sure that it was a proven tool that companies are using across the globe. For our people executive, it was all about that employee experience and making sure that it's not just a standalone comms tool, it's something that we can actually start to integrate with some of our other platforms and processes and really create this end-to-end experience. Yeah, so we obviously we wanted employees in the platform from day one, and we thought about what kind of content can we have in there, or what kind of campaign can we run that gets them not only to claim their profiles, but to actually engage and start liking and commenting and want to jump in there. So we knew it was about our executives and how we get them on board. And so we asked them to do what we dubbed a workplace challenge. So their task was to come up with a dare or a challenge or something that was relevant, personal, or made them a little bit vulnerable.
Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, so we had a couple of executives who teamed up to sing karaoke in a local pub.
Yes.
We had a couple of executives who challenged each other to a chili challenge where they progressively ate chilies in heat.
Yeah.
We had an ice bath challenge. Our executive in New Zealand did a NIB Eats thing where he went and rode around Auckland CBD and got everybody lunch. So there was quite a array of different ideas and activities happening. And what we asked executives to do was, for day one, film a video, share what your challenge is and why. And then if you get X number of likes on the video in 2 weeks, then you'll live stream your dare on the platform. Plus, in addition to that, we donated for each executive $1,000 to one of our charitable partners. Yeah. So we kind of mixed executive engagement in the platform, our charitable element and one of our values, which is making the world a better place, and the vulnerable human side of what's possible with workplace.
Well, I'm interested in this though, Kyla. When I talk to people about enterprise social media, one of their biggest concerns is that people will be frivolous and they will put pictures up of their cat or their football team, or here I am in my new bike, and something like that will take them away from their work. But you impressed on me, actually, that sort of engagement was very much something you wanted to encourage. Can you tell us your thinking in that space?
Yeah, definitely. So, look, at the moment we feel that there's no such thing as having too much fun in the platform, and employees should be able to have a bit of fun at work, because we know if they're connecting with their peers, they're having fun, they're engaged, they're more productive, and they're also collaborating easier and connecting. So happy employees equals a more productive workforce. Also breaking down barriers and allowing us to connect with our colleagues that we may never have come across before. So, I can connect with someone really easily in our Ireland office now, and I can leverage that diversity of thought on a project that I might be working on, or ask them for their feedback about how an employee in the Philippines might feel about this particular campaign. So that's the kind of productivity that we've not been able to have before. And it's just this. So we do have an NIB Pets group.
Yes.
We do. But I think that's okay, and I've decided that's okay because the level of engagement and activity and conversation that's happening around that, it's all about, we really encourage our employees to bring their authentic selves to work, and with work-life balance not really being a thing anymore, it's just about life. It's how do we actually encourage employees to be themselves?
How do the executives make their contributions to that environment?
Yeah, so they're all quite different, and I think that reflects their personality and who they are, and we're also quite mindful of that. So we don't expect all of them will be that comfortable jumping in at any given time, and that will be part of their habits, especially not kind of 3 months in. We know we need to build that. So our CEO and a couple of our other executives are very comfortable working in that way, and they'll jump in whenever they've got 5 minutes spare, whenever they're grabbing a coffee, and they'll engage with content or post content in the platform. But a number of our other executives do need some support, but we find that it isn't really any different to how we were supporting them before from a comms team perspective. So generally we know what's going on in the business, what the major projects are, And as we would before, we'll partner with them and provide suggestions and even key messaging sometimes. But there's far less ghostwriting now. We're very, we're very strict, I guess you could say, on our executives, including some personality into those messages. So we try not to write them for them. It's more about partnering with them, and some of them might schedule 5 minutes into their day to have a look at what's going on in workplace, and that's pretty much all the time commitment that we ask for, because it doesn't take much longer than that. And the number one message to our executives is you can't underestimate the power of a like. An employee gets a real kick out of just getting a like from an executive on their post. So if that's all they do, then we're very happy.
So those metrics components within social media give you a finger on the pulse about how the message is there. Now, a number of people talk to me about all these new exciting communication options that are coming in. There's sort of enterprise for workplace by Facebook, there's Slack, there's other things, Teams through Microsoft, that sort of stuff. And I can imagine usually there'd be sort of aficionados in each camp fighting and shutting. Did you have that sort of challenge in choosing this as your environment? And if so, why did you end up in a enterprise social media Facebook way rather than some of the more technical solutions?
Yeah, so there's probably two elements to that. So I would say, firstly, the executive sponsorship. So we sought sponsorship from our chief people officer and also our chief technology officer, and those two together were able to really put the technology and the people as priorities as one, rather than favouring a particular techie platform and not thinking about the people, or not making it too people centric and not thinking about how that's going to integrate with our other processes. So that was probably the first step, and where we realised that Workplace was the right solution for us. And then we made sure, in particular, the technology teams were a big part of this project. So it wasn't a project led by corporate comms, but it also wasn't a technology-led project. So we had a project team that reflected that, a mix from technology teams and comms teams. But we also invited our whole IT division to pilot the platform as well in that 4 weeks in the lead up. And that, I think, is what really got us across the line in that space, because they could see how user-friendly it was, how simple it was to connect people across the organisation and connect with their colleagues across different geographies, and they became ambassadors for us in the platform. And I think having the technology teams backing any digital transformation project is crucial, and that was what led to their success in that space.
Okay, and I've got a final question, because you said when you were rolling out Workplace, your approach was a test and learn. So I'm interested, it all seems wonderful now, but I'm sure there must have been some dark hours or some roadblocks or some problems. And I think part of the challenge in change management is recognizing these challenges and how you overcome them and address them. And I think people would find those sort of learnings helpful. Could you sort of talk a bit more about those?
Yeah, so I think firstly, we were very open with the business, with our employees and with our leadership team that this was a test and learn, that this wasn't going to be perfect from day one, but that was okay, and they had to be comfortable with that, and we had to be comfortable with that. Kind of kills your inner comms control freak to let go in that space. But I think the biggest thing that we have learned is that was the right approach in terms of not getting bogged down in policy and governance. We're an organisation that likes to take risks and believes that fortune favours the brave. So we've kind of learnt and tweaked on the go, but not had to make too many dramatic changes. What we have found is that because we've done it this way and not gotten too bogged down in policies around group structures and exactly how the workplace environment should work from a procedural perspective, we have allowed employees to kind of build it themselves, and now it truly feels like an employee-centric platform
Because I'm hearing what you're saying is you've got to trust your employees. You've got to show them trust that they'll do it. Because I mean, I can see people concerned that they see how social media can be abused by people, shouting and slanging and belittling people and all of that sort of stuff. But you've erred on the side of free speech rather than censorship, is what I hear you say, and I think that probably helps with the engage. People can trust using it because they're feeling it's not a corporate propaganda platform. It's something where they can be authentic about their views.
Yeah, definitely. So, from the start, we obviously put the framework in place to say this is a company tool, which means code of conduct and all of those kind of behavioural policies obviously still apply. We also had an enhanced level of security, so we have a tool that sits between NIB and Workplace that kind of monitors from a cybersecurity perspective anything in terms of personal details or that kind of information that shouldn't be shared. Obviously we operate in quite a strict governance industry and environment, so that was really important. But in terms of just content that employees are sharing, what we've found, there may be a few examples where we've gone, that's a weird thing to share on the platform, but what we've learnt is that people are tending to self-moderate, so other employees will jump on and answer a question or provide support or anything along those lines. So very rarely have we had to intervene. And as you say, we've employed these people under these policies and with these values in mind, and so we have to trust them. And you'd expect that these conversations or thoughts or feedback is still kind of happening, and it could be bubbling under the surface. So we'd much prefer to know about it and give our people a voice and a platform to do that, rather than have it kind of backdoor and never know that certain things are a problem or an issue.